started in 1992, and that was before home education was legalized in South Africa. So despite serving a relatively small home education population of about 50 to 60,000 families in South Africa, the Trust has established itself as a leading NGO in the basic education sector. It is treated on par, and often above par, with school governing body associations and independent schools organizations catering to much larger student bodies. The success did not come overnight. It was the result of strategic planning, unwavering commitment, and a clear vision. So I want to share with you shortly 9 lessons that we've learned in the Pestalozzi Trust. The first one that is very important is to start early, to build foundations. This is one of the key lessons from the Pestalozzi Trust story. That is the importance of starting early. Ideally, begin your advocacy efforts long before home education becomes a contentious issue in your country. If home education is still a small and unnoticed movement, now is the perfect time to lay your groundwork. However, if you find yourself in the midst of challenges, remember that it is never too late to start. The essential point is to begin today, regardless of your current circumstances. Starting early allows you to build a strong foundation, create awareness, and establish your presence long before facing significant opposition. Early action also helps in forming alliances, gathering resources, and understanding the legal landscape, which can be crucial in times of conflict. Moreover, it provides the opportunity to educate the public and policymakers about the benefits and importance of home education, creating a more favorable environment for future advocacy efforts. So that's number 1. So number 2, commitment and sacrifice. Starting a home education organization requires a family or a few dedicated individuals willing to make significant sacrifices. Thank you. The early years are challenging, demanding time, resources, and sometimes even personal risk. These hardships lay the foundation for future successes. The willingness to persevere through these difficulties is what ultimately strengthens the organization and inspires others to join and support the movement. A third thing that's very important is to choose the correct legal structure. This is a critical decision. Following advice from the HSLDA, the Pestalozzi Trust chose to be a self-perpetuating trust. That means that the present trustees choose the next trustees. And this insulated us from potential takeovers by the government or other groups. It also allowed the trust to act on behalf of all home educators, not just those who complied with government requirements, thus enabling us to operate independently while serving the best interests of the home education community as a whole. Number 4, financial stability. I think, Ray, you will give some more ideas on financing your organization, but in our case, subscription membership has proven essential for the financial stability of the Pestalozzi Trust. Fundraising for specific cases has not been successful in South Africa, but instead a steady stream of income through membership subscriptions has enabled us to support our members consistently and plan long-term strategies. Number 5, leverage international support. No organization can thrive in isolation. The Pestalozzi Trust benefited greatly from international advice and support, particularly from organizations like the HSLDA in USA and Canada. These entities provided valuable guidance, resources, and advocacy support, which were instrumental in overcoming challenges and gaining recognition. It also helped us understand global trends and adopt best practices and helped us create a united front for home education advocacy. Number 6, engaging with politicians. A key strategy that we found very helpful from the outset is building and maintaining relationships with politicians. When concept legislation threatened to make home education illegal in the new democratic South Africa, a campaign was launched involving thousands of home educators from the USA, Canada, and around the world who wrote letters to the South African embassies. This international pressure, combined with strategic lobbying within South Africa, played a significant role in recognizing home education in the South African Schools Act and securing its legal status. Now, if you have connected with these politicians, you need to be consistent in your political engagement. So building a network of supportive politicians can help in advocating for favorable policies and preventing adverse legislation. The trust's engagement with politicians intensified over the years, ensuring that home education remained a recognized and supported educational option. Speaking to all political parties and showing a broad concern for the country's education system helped build alliances and garner support across the political spectrum. Consistent political engagement involves regular communication and regularly attending parliamentary meetings. It requires staying informed about legislative changes and responding promptly to policy proposals and collaborating with other educational organizations. Then number 8, collaborate with like-minded organizations. Depending on your country's size and legal situation, it is beneficial to join forces with like-minded organizations. Collaboration amplifies your voice and can lead to more significant impact and influence. Forming alliances with other educational organizations, parent groups, and civil society organizations can create a powerful coalition for home education advocacy. When the legal battle was beginning to heat up in South Africa, we formed a coalition, the Liberty and Learning Coalition, which has been immensely valuable in the numerous battles in and out of Parliament. And then number 9, demonstrating a genuine concern for the overall education landscape in your country can enhance your organization's credibility and foster broader support. While your primary focus is on home education, advocating for improvements in the general education system can help position your organization as a constructive and integral part of the national education dialogue. So in conclusion, starting strong as a pro-home education organization requires strategic planning, unwavering commitment, and the willingness to make sacrifices. The story of the Pestalozzi Trust in South Africa is a testament to what can be achieved with dedication and a clear vision. By starting early, securing financial stability through membership, leveraging international support, choosing the right legal form, engaging consistently with politicians, collaborating with like-minded organizations, and showing a broader concern for education, your organization can make a significant impact. Thank you.
Sílvia, do you want to join us? Our third speaker has made it now. Was running just a little bit late. Sílvia Cópio from Portugal will be, she'll be number 3, but we're going to let Stephanie go next. By the way, Karin, thank you very much for that. That was very insightful, and that element of, there's a long-range vision there. You can see that. It wasn't just haphazard. There's real vision in what you've done. Thank you very much. Stephanie, you probably need this.
Welcome this morning. Happy to see you. I'd like to ask, I just want to get a feel for the audience. I'd like to know, are you leading your own homeschool organization, if you're leading your own homeschool organization in some way, can you raise your hand? Okay. All right. So that's helpful for me to know. So I'm going to be focusing on the importance of meetings, because leadership is not just doing something yourself. Sometimes it is. That's sometimes how it starts. But it's leading other people to accomplish a goal. And often we do that through meetings. We talked about the essentials of a strong organization, and I really appreciate Karin and what she's done in South Africa. My parents did the same thing in Texas, where they basically saw the need for legal advocacy, support, representation for homeschoolers to connect, get together, and help to establish the freedom to homeschool. So choosing board members is key in determining the future of your organization. And my parents helped do that for our organization. Choosing the right board members, then having a clear understanding for what the role of the board is. So even if that's something that you haven't done, we went back and refined that for our organization, where we put together a list of expectations of board members and clarified the role of board members. So that's something very valuable to do as well. And then I would also just encourage you to take the time to sit with the people that have become your board members and work through your mission and your vision for the organization. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. Determining who you are as an organization, which will also tell you who you are not. It'll help you clarify what you want to be doing and what you won't be doing. And then it'll help you determine which are the right people to do this with you. So clarify your mission, clarify your vision. Your vision is your why, or your big long-term goal. Your mission is your what. So those are some things I think are important for starting an organization. And then the other thing you'll find yourself doing, you probably already find yourself doing this a lot, is running meetings. So that's going to be my focus today, is how to run effective meetings. If you had to identify in one word the reason why the human race has not achieved and never will achieve its full potential, that word would be meetings. Who in here has sat through a meeting that was difficult to survive? It felt like it was never going to end. You had the question in your mind, why are we here? All right. And who has enjoyed a meeting where you left the meeting and you thought, we got a lot done. We got some things figured out. That's the difference in a well-run meeting and a poorly run meeting. And because we as leaders of organizations are running many meetings, we need to have clarity on how to run a meeting well. So, when leaders know how to lead great meetings, there's less time wasted and less frustration. We have more energy to do the work that matters, realize our full potential, and do great things. So I hope you're inspired and excited to learn about running great meetings for your organization. All right, so I've broken this down into 7 types of meetings. These are also 7 things these things can also happen within the same meeting. We've got decision making, problem solving, team building, brainstorming, one-on-one, planning, and check-in. So again, these things can happen within the same meetings. It is important to identify for yourself what kind of meeting is this as you go into it. Sometimes it's valuable to have a brainstorming meeting, and in those meetings, you want to brainstorm. You want to let the ideas come out, so you don't necessarily have to make a decision. And if it's a meeting where we're going to brainstorm, we're going to pull ideas out on the table, it helps not to try and make decisions because more ideas can get out on the table. So clarify for yourself, what kind of meeting is this? A lot of us will have regular meetings. And I think something neat about meetings is when they're well run, it actually is the tool that can keep progress taking place in the organization. This is the tool that will keep moving you toward accomplishing your mission. I had a team member one time tell me that he didn't think I realized how much time he had to spend getting ready for our weekly meetings. And I just nodded and appreciated his efforts, but he was just doing his job. The meeting was just reporting on what he was accomplishing during the week. And so it was an accountability, basically. He had, but in his mind, and this will happen for a lot of us, he didn't have any other, he would kind of push it off like we all do until late, and then he would have to get everything done. But you know what? He got it done. And he got it done because we were going to have a meeting to talk about what have we gotten done. So meetings can be a really great tool. So I want to talk about, like I was just saying, the potential for meetings. We want to think about the fact that it provides us learning. So when we're meeting with another person, we have learning as a leader to do. What is that other person thinking? What is that person feeling? Do they have what they need to accomplish the work? We need to go into a meeting as a leader ready to learn. We're going to learn about people, where they stand. Sometimes it helps to know these major things are going on in the lives of the people that we're meeting with, and then we can understand what they might need to help accomplish whatever we're trying to do. We're going to learn about projects. Where are you on the project? What's hindering the project? What can we do to help? We're going to gain wisdom and insight. We mentioned brainstorming meetings. It's really valuable to get different types of personalities and people with various backgrounds into the same room, and then to pose the question and to say, this is a challenge that we have. What are we going to do about it? So there's a story that a company had that sold like tent material to make tents that you camp in, canvas material. They had over-ordered, and they had this huge surplus of canvas material. And so they got everyone into a room, and they brought them into a meeting, and they had a brainstorming conversation, and they wanted to gain wisdom and insight from their people, and they said, we have a surplus, we have an overage of this material. What are ideas? What could we do with this to keep from losing all this money that we spent on it? And someone had the bright idea to make pants out of this material. And that is where the Levi's jeans company was birthed. So we want to use meetings to gain wisdom and insight, ask people questions, pull those things out of them. People on a team, and we all feel this way too, we need to be heard. So meetings are an opportunity for people to express what they think and feel about different elements. We want as leaders, we want to design our meetings to where people have the opportunity to express their opinions and their thoughts on different things. I mentioned already, meetings provide accountability, and meetings advance the mission. So these are great reasons. This is the potential that meetings have when they're run well to help us in leading our organization. So I want to talk about 3 keys to effective meetings. And those keys are preparation, facilitation, and evaluation. And I worked hard to make all of those rhyme. Preparation, facilitation, and evaluation. These will make great meetings. All right, so in preparation, determine the goals and or the agenda in advance. Determine the goals and or the agenda in advance. I separated goals and I said and or agenda on purpose. So what are the goals of this meeting? If it's a one-on-one meeting, what are my goals? My goals are to find out what the challenges are that this person is having or whatever. So a lot of times I will outline for myself in my own mind my goal of the meeting. And then at the beginning of the meeting, I'll ask everyone and I'll tell everyone, this is my goal. In this meeting, I want to come to a conclusion on this topic, and I want to gain clarity on this topic and this topic. So we have 3 things. And then I'll ask everyone, is there anything else we need to accomplish in this meeting? So we all agree on the goal. And then that allows us to stay focused. Some meetings you don't have agendas. So it wouldn't be necessary in a personal, relational conversation to have an agenda necessarily, besides goals. But for our regular meetings that we're going to have with our boards or even our members. We want to have an agenda laid out, and that's something that we want to think through in advance and make sure it achieves our goals. And then you can even adjust it at the beginning of the meeting if somebody else has some other goals that they think we need to add and that's agreed upon. So prepare in advance, determine your goals for the meeting. There's a quote that says, your success will be determined by the things you say no to. So remember, we can't do everything in one meeting, but we want to accomplish the things we set out to accomplish. And then advance review of the topics by all. So it's valuable to send the agenda out in advance and to include links or the information that people are going to need, because when we're gaining that wisdom and insight from the people that come to the meeting, they're going to have they'll be better prepared to provide that wisdom and insight if they have had the opportunity to review. So in our regular meetings, we have regular weekly meetings at our organization. We're very big, we have a staff. So this for many organizations might look like a monthly meeting. But in those weekly meetings that we have, we ask everyone to prepare their report 24 hours in advance and prepare any proposals or anything that they have coming 24 hours in advance. And then everyone is expected to go review everything in the agenda in advance. And wow, it just streamlines the meeting. It makes us leave that meeting think, wow, this was effective when we got a lot done, because people are prepared. We don't have to go over all of the details. So ask everyone, send that information out to people, ask them to prepare in advance. Facilitation. So this is where we can make this a great experience and we can really accomplish a lot. Ensure expectations. I mentioned this at the beginning, or actually a little bit ago, where we lay out the goals and the agenda for people. One thing I like to do, especially if we're having team building meetings, brainstorming, things like that, is I like to ask everyone to go through and say what they expect of this meeting. So we'll have some team meetings where we get together for 2 days. And I'll ask them to tell me, and we'll write down, what do you expect of this meeting? And they'll say, I expect that we get our goals for the next quarter laid out, or something like that. So they'll all give me a list of their expectations, and as the leader of the meeting, I can actually keep that in mind and try to help achieve the goals and expectations that they have, or redirect them. So then as the facilitator, we can guide the conversation. So I remember at one of our national conferences, we have town hall style meetings, and people can get up and share. And I remember my first opportunity to facilitate, someone stood up and shared, and she was sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing. And so eventually, I agreed with her. While she was talking, I started agreeing with her about what she was saying, and then I just kept agreeing with her. I just kept talking about how she was right and agreeing with her and affirming her until she actually realized I was going to keep talking. And then she sat down, and then we had the meeting moving forward again. And so it's our job as leaders to do those things, and you can, as we do it more, we'll learn how to do it more gracefully, but we'll guide the conversation. And then for me, key is create action item lists. So in the meeting, one thing very frustrating about a meeting is when we determine things to do, and at the next meeting, we determine the same things to do. So it's important as we go, when something is determined it needs to be done, make a list. Make an action item list, choose an owner for that, so-and-so will do it, and this is the date that it'll be due. Evaluation. They say that you don't actually learn by doing something, you learn by evaluating and reflecting on what you did. So I'm almost out of time. I'll wrap this up quickly, but were expectations met? Were the goals achieved? Send out minutes or summary or notes that include a list of what was determined, what was decided, what's coming next. Is there another meeting? What's next? The action items, and then maybe the date for the next meeting. When are we gonna follow up on this? So preparation, facilitation, evaluation. Tips for great meetings. Ensure great timing. If you pick a bad time of the day, it's gonna be difficult for your people if you pick a 2-hour meeting when it should be a 30-minute meeting. And meet primary needs. Can people hear? If it's a Zoom meeting, can people hear? Can people see? Is it hot? Is it cold? Are people hungry? Those kind of things will really get in the way of progress. Ensure relevant content. I love this one, actually. Oh, here, I'll put it on. Here's my notes on these because I'm about out of time. But ensure relevant content. Does this item actually even need a meeting? Or could we send an email and figure this out? Set good meeting culture. So if you start your meetings on time, people will start coming on time. If you consistently wait 15 minutes for everyone, people will wait. So it just depends on the culture you want to have. Whatever it is that you want your culture to be, do that consistently. Use videos for remote meetings. Remember that body language is a huge part of communication. So in our remote meetings, which we have very many because our whole team works remotely, we use video meetings. And in any of our calls, one-on-ones, big meetings, whatever, we use video so that we can better communicate. Prioritize relationships. I actually talked to Gerald about this one time, and I asked him, what do you wish you would have known long ago? And he said, I wish I would have prioritized relationships. And so I want us to remember, inside meetings, we can prioritize relationships. We can have time in our meetings where we ask, how you're doing, and we actually have several minutes, or depending on the length of the meeting, a good portion of time where you're developing those relationships and investing in those people. And lastly, have fun. So fun actually is a great way to help get things done. And you can think back on times where you have had fun doing things, accomplishing things with people, and you accomplished things well. So I wanted to end with this. People rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they're doing. And that's what I have for you on the importance of great meetings.
Thank you, Stephanie. Meetings are in many ways are the pulse rate of an organization, and getting that pulse going and getting that going well is really critical. So thank you for that. Sílvia.
Great. So good morning. I'll start by saying that I'm feeling nervous, concerned, probably frustrated. So I need you to understand me and to cooperate with me in this moment. And what I want to tell you is coming from my own experience with my husband. I get the lucky of, among other things, to get married with Cópio that will present something later in a workshop about leadership. And Paulo is an expertise in Portugal. He works from 30 years from now with business companies, training people to achieve goals, emotional training, leadership. So what I bring is what I do, but with this lucky of bringing to the family the knowledge that my husband has. And I'm also lucky because my colleagues have prepared my communication even before me. But I want to practice something, if you agree, okay? So I will start by asking you to stop a moment and think, if I ask you, what is the main feeling, the main emotion that you are feeling now, what that feeling would be, you included, okay? Yeah, and if you want to shout a word, it would be wonderful. Can you share?
Interested.
Thank you.
At peace.
Okay, thank you. Hopeful, thank you. It's not mandatory, feel free, okay? I'm not pressuring anyone. Okay, I already expressed my feelings. So I believe that, as been said, relationship is the most important thing in organizations. And what I've been learning, the main difference that I see in organizations that are more economical, business, etc., and the non-profit organizations is we want to achieve the same. We want to create a better world, right? But in non-profit organizations, we have to work with lots of volunteers that are exhausted, they don't have the time, they don't have the resources, they are not getting any money from what they do, they don't know what to achieve sometimes because it's passion. What we do is about passion and about believing in a cause. And so it can be hard sometimes to lead an organization that sometimes is exhausted, is stopping believing if we can really achieve. And you know what? Everybody knows that I'm here because I really believe that we need to be together as a global movement, but I am also very focused on Europe, where I live, and I'm very concerned precisely with communication. Communication, in my opinion, is everything. So, and I'm feeling that I'm taking too much time. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so what I really would like to share here is recognizing the practice of developing attention, because we are living in a world that sometimes we don't take care of our own emotions. We don't stop to realize, how am I in this precise moment? And that can make the difference between me reacting with peace or me reacting just because I'm distracted and I'm hungry and I want to, and I will say something that will damage the whole organization. Not because I'm wrong, I can say something right, but in an angry, but because I'm not focused, I'm not paying attention about my feelings. So I base lots of things in lots of trainings that I did when I began to be the leader of some organizations. And one of them is nonviolent communication, EULA process. Well, I will not take time on the names of that because it's not the most important. And I will present you a tool that I really like, that is the levels of listening from Otto Scharmer, that works in the Massachusetts University, studying how organizations can develop more trust, more everything. Okay, I have to go on. Also, okay, so when we are communicating, being aware about what we are feeling, what is my main need, etc., we are intentionally paying attention of this list of principles. So we are paying attention. We have an intention. So this doesn't work if I don't believe that I want to achieve something. And something can be simply, okay, I want my meeting to go well. Or it can be, no, I want my meeting to be productive. Or outside the meeting, I really want my team to feel comfortable and friendly and having joy, okay? So for that I need empathy, no judgmental, that is for me the most important. So all of us, we have thoughts that are judgments, okay? And I honestly feel that as more global we work, more judgments we make, because sometimes we are not realizing that we are putting together differences, cultural differences, different habits, etc. So if we don't communicate that, some things can provoke tensions that are not necessary. It's only differences, nothing really important. Even better, differences can be the greatest thing that we have to build the best thing for the world, because we were created differently for a reason, probably. Okay, so and go on and so on. I know myself. I know that I So what about nonviolent communication just as a topic? So I started by saying, well, I didn't express what I was seeing, but because I already did it, but I express my feelings. I shared with you my feelings. I started by that. I identify my need, that was, please understand me, okay? And then I began. So, and I'm not saying that in every meetings, because we have to use this if we want in different contexts with different kinds of formalities. So I'm not saying that we should all the time share exactly how I did at the beginning. But if at least we stop for a moment to realize, how am I, even if I don't share, it's good enough to create a good environment. Even better if I create the environment that was said here, a friendly, with joy, etc. And so, for example, in my Portuguese organization, we always begin with what we call the check-in. We call it, the check-in. What is the check-in? Is doing what we did here. Please, each one, express the present feeling. And in that way, we feel that when we really begin the meeting, we are more in contact with each other, we will be more understanding of whatever, okay? It's not having a talk and spend time about our feelings, it's different. It's only express them, okay? Just that. And with this, okay, let's see what happens. But I believe that we can establish different connections between us, even with people that sometimes we don't like so much, and sometimes we have to, okay? And we are kind people, so I want to get along, okay, with everyone. And I believe that as a leader, I don't have the right to don't like someone. Okay, I have the right to don't like because I'm human, but not to treat a person differently just because I'm more empathic with one person than the other, because that part is human. But the goal is not to use that to make some damage in someone. Okay, sorry for my English, it's too soon for me. Okay, let's go. The practice of, what do I mean with observe? The first topic of nonviolent communication is observing facts, okay? How is my body? I didn't have my breakfast now, so things like that. I'm hungry, so naturally, probably I will, I'm in a state differently as if I had to eat, or today I wake up with this pain, or it's not dramatizing what I'm feeling, right? It's just being aware. Okay, what I'm concerned about, what am I thinking? What is my emotions? And then distinguish facts from interpretation. You know, when we're leading a group, sometimes we know that there are that member, right? That, okay, here you go. Oh my God, I have no patience. Oh my God. No, it's not that. It's just realizing, okay, this person, yeah, does that. So it's a fact. Let's help. Let's see how we can deal with this in a constructive way, okay? And so observation is different from interpretation because our minds go to judgment. Here comes that person. He must be crazy or something. That's an interpretation. Who am I to think things like that? So let's remove our judgments and make more bridges with this, and distinguish the fact as it is from the emotion it involves it. Every one of us has different profiles, so some are more calm, some more communicative, some more this and that comes with emotions. So let's see how different we are and how does it work. Oh my God, my time. No, I'm almost finished. So just the listening levels. Be aware the moments during your day that you are listening, for example, with I forgot to translate some of the words, sorry for that. Okay, the level 1. This is when we are completely in autopilot. We don't care. People are talking with us and we are, okay. Everyone does that, so, yeah. The second level is when, I begin to want to understand what the other person is saying. Okay, so I'm listening, I'm making rational connections with my knowledge. I'm saying, okay, I agree, I don't agree. I know a little bit more about, I don't. I want to connect, to relate this with, my colleague said, I'm sorry, I'm not good with names, about listening to the whole group. I think it's very, very, very important because in our days, leading a team that feels that is not being listening doesn't work, in my opinion. So it's very important for me. And level 3 is the one that, is the one, sorry, again. It's the one that comes from inside. It's the moment that I not only want to understand what the other is saying, but I want to feel with the other person. Okay, so I'm not only in my mind, but I'm opening my heart to new possibilities, to the differences we have. Okay, everything. And the level 4, Otto Scharmer, the creator of this study, realized that every woman being, every day, passed through these 3 levels, but the level 4 is the one that we achieve when we are having a very great meeting where everyone is listening, everyone is participating with empathy, and in a moment, some new idea comes that would not become if that group of people were not together with that attitude. So it's not an idea from one member. It's the idea that comes because people are cooperating together. I'm almost finished, okay? And when we speak, we can use, if we are connected, we can use the wise speech. Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it the right moment? Is it kind? Is it useful? Nothing to say here. With self-care and compassion. I think, okay. So I'm finishing. When we focus on clarifying what is being observed, felt, and needed, rather than diagnosing and judging, we discover the depth of our own compassion. And that's it. Oh, and that's it. Sorry, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sílvia. I've not seen that presented before, the nonviolent communication. It's similar to what I've seen of emotional intelligence, but it goes deeper in a few areas, and I think that was very powerful. Okay, we now have time for some questions. Anyone who has a question, just raise your hand. We've got a mic for you. We do need you to speak into the mic because we're trying to record all this. So does anyone have a question for us at this point?
I have a question.
Okay, use the mic.
Okay, Stephanie, have you had any problem in the various meetings you've been part of with a particular participant not preparing for the meeting and wasting time at the meeting because that person is asking questions that if they'd only prepared and read the materials ahead of time, they wouldn't have had to ask that question? How do you address that when if it becomes chronic?
That's a good question. I think the important thing is to set a culture of preparation. So at the beginning of getting people into a rhythm for that, it can be more difficult. So I think that how I would address it and how I have addressed it would be to point people back to where the information is, and we won't spend time on that. So sure, just check this out. And again, with empathy, especially at the beginning of trying to set up your meetings like this, people won't remember to do it. So they say that a chief executive officer is actually a chief reminding officer. So at the beginning, you have to help people remember. You just say it over and over again. So you just point people back to, sure, that information is here, go check it out. I'll give you a link to that, where you just kind of point them back to that information. And then another thing can be, peer pressure is really valuable. So just reminding everyone, we have a time, I used to have an hour-and-a-half weekly meeting, and it was just so long. And it would be long because people's reports, they would report for 5, 10, 15 minutes. So I basically asked everyone to include these elements in their report and to keep it to 3 minutes long. And then at the beginning of asking them to do that, I would literally have a timer going. It took them some time, but they get used to it for each other. So I would say use peer pressure, just point them back to the information, Even just say, even praise people for having been prepared. Thank you for being prepared. That was super helpful, you know, and that kind of thing. And it just takes repetitive, just pointing them back to the right information. Don't give it to them. Don't spoon feed it to them. If you're having to wait on somebody to prepare within the meeting, just say, that's okay. We can come back to that next week or another time, or maybe you can follow up with an email to tell us all. So it just takes pushing that. Anything else?
Okay, other questions?
Okay, it sounds like you all come from very big organizations. I don't know what this question is relevant, but do you have anything to say on the size of meetings when you have a choice? We have a very small organization, and we sometimes have the request to bring in other people, and we're of the opinion it's not always very constructive. And yeah, it's a bit of a dilemma. You don't want to exclude people, but we want to get things done. And sometimes people might have preferences for certain friends or for religious reasons, other reasons that they want to include other people. Anyways, I read recently that if you really want to get something done, 3 at max, 2, I don't know. Can anybody say anything about that?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, you mean the size, the number of people attending the meetings, right? That's yeah. So
Working group, an extra working group. In a board meeting, you probably can't really adjust the number, but if you were to have an extra group, maybe to work on a particular task.
yeah, in a practical way, I think I really, in my experience, it's better to have smaller groups that are connected with each other. So the vision and the goal and the strategy, and mainly the language, because we need to. One of the things that I think it's very hard when we are dealing with a very big group of people is because sometimes, even in our own languages, we are not using the same value for the same word. For example, the word evaluation, just an example, at least in Latin, it is not a good word to use. So for meetings, because it's connected with bad school experiences. So people no longer want to use the word evaluation. We prefer to use the word I'm trying to translate. Other words. That's not the point. So I believe in a practical way, it's useful to have smaller groups that can, okay, let's do that, write this, okay. But listening and making the team feel that we are all together, now I strongly believe 2 or 3 things. We need meetings with everyone. We need meetings, at least in my culture, where the chairs are disposed as a circle. Everyone needs a moment to be heard. If we don't do that, believe me, it will not work. And I'll finish saying there are some tools that you can see, like, for example, the Art of Hosting community is an international community that provides tools to how to deal meetings with hundreds of people and listen to all of them. I don't know if I answered, but
Something that I found is that if something has to be discussed in detail, the people in the meeting need to be on the same level, so that some don't feel that, okay, well, I don't think I can actually now make a contribution because I'm not on the other's level. You know, a few, say 1 or 2 or 3, can actually make all the decisions, and then there are a few who sort of just hanging around. So that's been sometimes a challenge to me, because sometimes I find that some people just simply remain quiet, and you don't know how to pull them out. You know, and you're not sure if they feel that they are not being judged as an equal attendee, you see. So that's quite a challenge. It's not a reply, it's not a solution, but maybe you've also experienced that.
I agree, and I would say a good question to ask is how few people could accomplish the goal of the meeting, and then have those people. And meetings can be a waste of time if you're not a part of the conversation, right? So that would be a question I would ask: how few people could accomplish this job? Sometimes we'll have board meetings where the whole board is together, and if it starts to get into a very detailed conversation about anything, we might create a subcommittee. So ask a few people to go spend time getting into the details of that, and then to come back to the whole group with more information. And that keeps people on the same level in a way, because it puts the people who really care about the topic onto it, and then they come back as the experts for the whole group.
The question is, do we pick those people or do we let them self-nominate?
At the same time, because I'm feeling that, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it's something there. At the same time, as a leader, I learned not to be afraid to invite people not to be at the group. That is a very, very, very hard thing to do. But I learned, I think with age as well, that as long as I'm doing that with empathy, not because I like or not like, but putting my attention on the idea that we are creating something. We need to be together. If I have a member that instead of promoting that is making too much damage on the group, I need to be wise to begin to understand and reflect, and don't be impulsive in the way I do it, but I really need to create a moment to don't be afraid of having a conversation with a person maybe or something and say, look, it's not working. I don't know. I was feeling that not being a bad person, just leading a group in a way that can be more healthy for the cause and for the group than being focused on my need. The nonviolent communication is very focused on my need. So my need of being friendly to everyone cannot be the same thing as being the need of leading a group as a leader. I need to be wise and realize that there are sometimes things that are not so nice to do, but doing with love as well, we can do it, and we can, I don't know, hard thing to answer, okay, but I thought it was.
I'll just add one other point on that. As a leader of the organization and you know the personalities of the people, you may ask someone to be on that group because you know that we need their personality, or you may invite someone off the group because and that's part of, to the point Sílvia was making, you need to know the people. You need to know who they are and how they'll work together. So yes, I'll let people self-select, but I will at times also say, ask someone specifically to be on or not to be on a group, just because of the chemistry that will happen with that group that has already self-selected to be on the team. Okay, are there other questions? We have time for one more question. We started a few minutes late, so we'll give you time for one more if there's another one. Okay, another question, great.
So I want to ask you about onboarding within the home education under that umbrella where you have tutors or teachers, you have parents, and you have students, and you're trying to create a culture for them that goes all the way through, and bringing them to that same vision, that same purpose from their distinct perspectives. Just any input you guys would have on that.
Well, quick answer, that is the dream of my life. What I want to achieve in my life, my deepest, strong dream is having the freedom for everyone, but I don't believe that freedom will be achieved if we don't establish a pattern of connecting people in that way. So I have nothing to say, just because I feel that is one of the most higher challenges that we have on our world right now. I'm more focused on trying to deal with the pain that people are living in the different in the different groups. Sorry again for my English now. But at the same time, I feel that we have the means, the tools, we were created to be together, so we will achieve that. Nothing else to say now.
I would just say that I agree that it's important to be together. So not all meetings are for the purpose of driving action. Some meetings are for the purpose of informing. And there's value to, we've started having a regular, everyone on the team is invited to come to just an update meeting. And I think that could be one good thing to do, is where, and it could be mandatory. You're talking about onboarding. Maybe everyone on the team, goes through the vision and the goals of the organization, or is taken through some kind of orientation meeting with representatives from each of those groups that you mentioned. But we found it valuable to bring everybody together, talk about the victories, talk about the challenges, talk about the organization from a high level, because each of those groups can be a little bit introspective or myopic about their own group. So there's value to having orientation meetings, to having, even hospitality. Everything doesn't have to be exactly a meeting, hospitality, have a dinner or something like that, where you design space for interaction between those groups and make everyone feel like a part of it.
Anyone else?
Just one last
Sure.
thought. And because in my culture, we forget to celebrate. And celebrating, I'm not meaning a party exactly. It can be a party, but have this moment to realize that we achieved, but in a way that we make time to feel happy and to realize. So that for me is just the last thing that I wish that I want to have. Yeah.
Okay, we are out of time, so we'll stop now, but the next session doesn't start until 9:45, so there is time for one-on-one. If you have any specific questions you want to ask any of our panelists, I'm sure they'd be happy to talk with you for a few minutes. Again, the next session is a plenary session, and that's in about 38 minutes. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.